is it? What is it about humanity that wants to go to all the details and stuff and listen? You know, these guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. You know, he doesn't know anything really about anything, and I'd say that to his face. Nothing. The man thinks you can take a blood sample and stick it in an electron microscope, and if it's got a virus in there, you'll know it. He doesn't understand electron microscopy, and he doesn't understand medicine, and he should not be in a position like he's in. Most of those guys up there on the top are just total administrative people, and they don't know anything about what's going on the bottom. You know, those guys have got an agenda, which is not what we would like them to have, being that we pay for them to take care of our health in some way. They've got a personal kind of agenda. They make up their own rules as they go. They change them when they want to, and they smugly, like Tony Fauci, does not mind going on television in front of the people that pay his salary and lie directly into the camera. You can't expect the sheep to really respect the best and the brightest. They don't know the difference, really. I mean, I like humans. Don't get me wrong, but basically, the vast majority of them do not possess the ability to judge who is and who isn't a really good scientist. I mean, that's a problem. That's a main problem, actually, with science, I'd say, in this century, because science is being judged by people. Funding is being done by people who don't understand it. Okay, who do we trust? Fauci? Fauci doesn't know enough to, you know. If Fauci wants to get on television with somebody who knows a little bit about this stuff and debate him, he could easily do it, because he's been asked. I mean, I've had a lot of people, president of the University of South Carolina asked Fauci if he'd come down there and debate me on the stage in front of the student body, because I wanted somebody who was from the other side to come down there and balance my, because I felt like, well, these guys can listen to me, but I need to have somebody else down here that's going to tell me the other side. But Fauci didn't want to do it.
This is a federal agency that is supposed to tell us where's the autism coming from. This all happened under Tony Fauci's watch. When he came in '84, the chronic disease rate in our country was 12.8%. By 2006, it had gone up to 54%. Those are autoimmune disease. Those are allergic disease. That's right in his wheelhouse. That is his expertise. He's supposed to be an autoimmune expert. He does not spend a penny trying to figure out what environmental toxin and exposure is causing this epidemic of disease. Instead, he has transformed NIAID, his agency, into the primary incubator for the pharmaceutical industry for new products. So he creates the products, he sells it to them, he transfers it to them for very, very beneficial prices. And he walks it through the FDA approval process, which means then Medicare and Medicaid have to pay for that drug. He helps negotiate those deals and get beneficial deals with the drug companies. And then the money comes back to him and his staff through royalties. And so instead of researching and trying to stop all these chronic disease from happening to our children, he's ignoring all of that and simply essentially printing money. And let me tell you how important this is. In between 2009 and 2016, there were hundreds of drugs approved by FDA, and every single one of them came out of Tony Fauci's shop. So that is the impact he has had on the pharmaceutical industry. During his tenure, the chronic disease rate has gone from 12% to 54%. We now use more drugs than any country in the world. We pay the highest prices for those drugs, and the drug industry is now controlling our government. And Tony Fauci, the reason he's lasted there for 50 years is he's like a mix between Bernie Madoff, which we can see in this Moderna racket, and J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover lasted for 50 years. He's the only other guy who's lasted for 50 years who's an agency head, because he was using that agency to benefit big shots, to make sure the mafia didn't get prosecuted, to make sure that people, dissidents, people he didn't like, would be spied on, like Martin Luther King and others, to bribe and blackmail, big shots, get files on everybody, and to make friends in big places. And Tony Fauci has played the same game. And you've seen what he did, you know, how this is a Ponzi scheme, this Moderna vaccine. There's nobody in the world that would buy this vaccine if they knew what you and I know about it. It does not stop the disease. It has a huge injury rate. It does not stop transmissibility. And he has a $9 billion contract with the Pentagon for 500 million doses. How did he get that, by the way? You know, my son worked for a financial firm. And they called me up and they said, well, you know, what do you think of these vaccines? Because they were, you know, thinking of betting on them or shorting on them. And they know I knew a lot about it. And they were asking me, what, you know, which ones are the good ones. And I said, you know, I don't know that. I know about the top 4. And they all have really serious problems. But I watched during this whole time, I know all these problems. You know, the Moderna vaccine had in the clinical trial, the phase 1 trial, they had 3 in the high dose group. 21% of the people get injuries that required medical intervention or hospitalization. So you give that to 1 billion people, and you know you're hospitalizing 21% of them. And they had, that's basically the entire population of the United States.
Right.
And you give and the low dose group had 6%, which is a dose related response, which is one of the indicias for profound toxicity. Then when they gave the second shot, 100% of the people had some illness. So why would you give that? Why would you give that to children, for example, where 99% of children don't even know that they have it? Why would you give them something that has 100% injury rate? And, you know, I look at that and I say, this thing is dead on arrival. But at the same time that all this data were coming out, I was watching the market cap of this product go through the roof. And I was looking at this and saying, how is this possible? How could people on Wall Street be so stupid? And then I realized what happened. Tony Fauci has a secret contract with the Pentagon to buy, which I posted on my Instagram 12 days ago. You can go look at it. To buy 500 million doses for $9 billion. And what that means is it doesn't matter if it works or not. It doesn't matter if it hospitalizes 20% of the people who take it.
No.
All he has to do is get FDA approval, and the day he gets FDA approval, that $9 billion is his. And it's an easy thing for him to get FDA approval and then just never sell any vaccines. The whole thing is such a sick, demented, and crooked scheme. But, you know, now that I know his life, I see that this is what he's been doing for 50 years at NIAID. Did the same thing with AZT. It did the same thing with remdesivir.
Yep.
He did. And this is what he does.